Hello, this is wmpyr. I just saw a short documentary video on National Geographic about a machete martial arts master from Haiti, and I enjoyed it very much. It was really cool and fun to watch. So I'm just here to share some of my thoughts on it. And first of all, the machete to me is very special because in today's society, the sword is kind of like it doesn't fit in anymore, sadly. So I feel like the machete is the modern day sword. So for me, the machete has been something that I've been very interested in, and something that I've pursued machete skills for quite some time now. So anyway, seeing this guy from a completely different culture, completely different martial arts style and everything, and seeing the similarities they had with the Filipino martial arts, I thought was really cool. So the first thing that I want to start with is the way that he viewed his machete skill was, it wasn't just like, okay, it's something that's practical or it's something that's cool, so I want to learn it. No, it was kind of like the way he described it was a gift from God. So, you know, when you treat something like that, like it's revered, then your training is also going to be, hardcore. So that's one thing. That's pretty awesome right there. You know that he's taking his training extremely seriously. Number two is when he started showing like the students and stuff like that, they went to sticks. So I was like, that's just like Filipino martial arts. That's so cool. In order to learn a bladed weapon, you got to master the sticks first. So I thought that was awesome. So they did that. And another thing that I noticed was the students were doing this kind of moves like this, where you could see that there is a form going on there, right? That tells me that it's not just swing the machete, whatever. They have a form. It looked like it was almost like based off of fencing. And the Filipino martial arts historically also is the same idea. Back when the Spanish conquistadors came to the Philippines, I mean, these guys were some of the best fencers and swordsmen in Europe at the time. So the Filipino indigenous tribes saw that and they were like, that's a great thing. We're going to adopt that. We're going to adapt to that, and we're going to make that our own. And that's how you get eskrima. They combine it with their own indigenous stuff. But so hence the word eskrima, which comes from skirmish. But there's a lot of similarities to fencing, in my opinion. So I got to see that here also with this Haitian machete style as well. Now the interesting thing was, like I said, the professor himself didn't move like in this kind of form like this. He was more like just doing this kind of thing, just boom. He was walking around like this, and he had like a wine bottle in his hand, and he's just like very like, this was like almost like no effort to the guy, and there were times where he's not even looking, So that's what I saw, but his students didn't move that way. So that tells me that he's, when you first start off learning this kind of stuff, you're going to have a natural stance, of course, because that's all you got. So you're going to have a natural stance, and then they're going to teach you, okay, so your foot needs to be here at a 45-degree angle. Okay, the weapon side needs to be over here. This hand needs to be behind, and they're going to teach you the proper mechanics, the body mechanics, right? And then from there, the professor became so efficient and good that he went from natural to now unnatural and back to natural. So there's a full cycle. So even though he's using natural movements, it's not regular natural movements. It's natural movements that evolved from these kinds of forms. So he has an understanding of the forms and why they're beneficial, and why you need to slide the leg out of the way so that you don't get cut, and all that kind of body mechanics is already in there. And then he went back to the normal movement. So he's made that normal for him. Another thing was what I saw is that when they work the weapons together, right? So it's kind of like, I wouldn't call it sparring because they weren't trying to kill each other. So that was cool that they weren't trying to just mess each other up. And then they were also using live machete. And and at one point, one of his students, I believe it was one of his sons, actually gets cut a little bit. But the fact that they could trust each other that much and go with live blade that much also tells you their ability of control. And I mean, they did this in front of a camera and stuff like that, so you could imagine the pressure, and the spotlight was on him and stuff. Yet the cut was minimal. I mean, he could have easily have lost an eye, or worse, he could have nicked him on a jugular or something. Thankfully, none of that happened, and I don't recommend training like that, because even those guys, as awesome as they were, they messed up a little bit, So that's why you shouldn't do that. But it tells me, once again, something about their skill level, that they are at a very amazing level. They probably do that all the time, and probably the cuts are pretty minimal. So, yeah, that's something said right there. And the thing that I noticed with the strike in the Filipino martial arts, we do something like this where we exchange and we do light sparring. It's not even sparring, but it's light contact, and we go back and forth with a live partner. When we do this, it's basically, in karate, there's something called a one-step sparring, okay? And it's basically, I'll do a move, and then they defend it, and now they counterattack to me, and I defend it, and then you just go back and forth, back and forth. Some of these people get very, very good at it, and they're amazing to watch, right? You have to be careful not to mistake this for actual combat, but it's still a skill, and the skill is amazing a lot of times. So what I saw here was a little bit different. There was much more contact with weapon to weapon, and what that does is that creates sensitivity, because you're actually connecting with the other person's weapon, and you're keeping in touch, like so, boom, 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 And so I saw him do a lot of that stuff where he's connecting and feeling with their weapon, and that alone is, to me, a valuable skill. That doesn't mean that you can fight really well, but if you are a good fighter, that kind of sensitivity skill can really help you out, especially if the other person's going to be stronger than you are, or they're going to be using a lot of force against you. Then if you have good sensitivity skills, then there's a chance that you could use it to redirect them and use their force against them, and you can stay efficient, and at the very least, you'll get less tired than they will. So it's very good to know that kind of sensitivity, and I was also highly impressed by that. And at the end, towards the end, they kind of showed him just walking like in a river with rocks and stuff, and I think he was barefoot, and he's just, just doing his normal, movements like so, as he's walking on the river. And that was really cool, because I had seen some Filipino martial arts experts do the same kind of thing on a river, and it's basically, I don't know if it was intentional, but if you're on a river and there's different sized rocks and stuff, if you take the wrong step, it could hurt your feet, right? So you have to be careful how you're walking while you're wielding this, boom, boom, while you're doing this kind of thing, boom. You have to watch your feet, and you can't be looking down, because if you start training with a partner and stuff, you're going to get hit. So you have to keep your eye on your opponent while you're paying attention to how you step. So this is the kind of training that I made my students do back when I had a school. I would put stuff on the ground, like weights and the water bottles and stuff, and they would have to navigate around that as they're doing partner drills, So saw kind of a lot of similarities there. I thought it was very cool. You should check out the video. It's on YouTube. I'll post a link in the comment section. Anyway, thank you for watching, and take care, folks.